Hey everyone. So I thought I would just come on here and talk about, since when I'm recording, it is the 1st of July, and talk about what books I am reading and planning to read for my last full month of summer, because August is kind of go time. If you teach at a college, you know that, especially if you're full time, you kind of have to be on campus a week before students arrive, and often that whole month is filled with prepping for classes, especially if you are somewhat of a new academic like I am. I guess that's like subjective, but I am, or maybe even if you're not a new academic, you're teaching classes that you haven't taught before, and you need to kind of create the class and craft the reading list and the assignments and everything. So that takes a while. I could do that now, but I really just want to embrace the true entire month for just my own kind of reading pursuits. And also in the fall, since I am a student as well, at a different place, a different institution, usually, even though I just take one class a semester because I'm an adult and I have a full-time job, and also financially, that's just what I have to do. At the moment, my time is usually taken up, my free time is usually taken up, my reading time, to be even more specific, is taken up by books that are suggested and assigned in the class. So let's get to it. Some of you who follow me might know that, especially if you follow me on Twitter and have attended or listened on this channel to my Twitter space conversations, you will know that I'm doing an independent study on Jean-Paul Sartre and kind of on Simone de Beauvoir. So what I have read, I just thought I would maybe go over that. The Twitter Spaces conversation, which anyone can join in, basically the first part of it, myself and my co-host are just talking about this book, L'Âge de Raison, or The Age of Reason. It's the first of a series of books. He has 2 other books in the series. A 4th was planned, but I guess it was like never finished, or I haven't really researched too much on that 4th one. But this book, well, this is what we're talking about. So myself and my co-host. And so the first part is us talking about this book, and then we open it up for questions and answers. So far, only a few people have joined, or really one person has joined. But I hope that we're going to have more people interested. Now, I don't know if we're going to continue it beyond the summer. I think it just depends on how busy we are, but yeah, I hope so, because one reason I like doing the Twitter spaces or any sort of collab is because it motivates me to read. So anyway, this book is it follows the main character of Matthew, which Sartre has been claimed to have said. I haven't come across this quote, but he's been claimed to say that Matthew is a character. The character is a philosophy professor in Paris, so kind of like Sartre. And he uses his freedom irresponsibly. So throughout the book, he kind of avoids committing to really anything different, even though he has kind of these wishful dreams about, maybe going somewhere else, participating in different activities, being in different relationships, etc. He doesn't ever follow through with that. So he mostly just kind of denies all the opportunities that come to him. So it follows this character. Sorry, I was just thinking if I finished grammatically like a sentence that I had started. I don't think I did. So sorry about that. So it follows this main character. The the story also sort of like on a more concrete level surrounds the predicament that Matthew finds himself in with his lover of 7 years, Marcel. Marcel is found to be pregnant at the beginning of the book. I'm sure she finds herself to be pregnant. And she does want to have the child, but as per the conversation and the mindset that Marcel and Matthew have always engaged, which is not wanting to get married and not wanting to have a child, Matthew like searches throughout the whole book, avoiding that conversation with Marcel and trying to find the money for an abortion, which is at the time that this is set, which I think it's set in 38, like 1938. I think it was published, or was that when it was published? I think it's set in 1938, before World War II, but it was published around 1945, 46. So that's what I've read it and I'm kind of parsing it, etc. I also read Iris Murdoch's book, Sartre. This is just about his literary works. So Nausea, maybe, I think it's just about his novels, maybe. Yeah, so a lot about The Roads to Freedom, which is the name of the entire series. I really liked this book. I would definitely recommend it if you are interested in the literary side of Jean-Paul Sartre, because she has some good insights and she's read his philosophy as well. So especially if you haven't read much of his philosophy, like I'm in the middle of being in nothingness, I thought it was really helpful, and it's very accessible the way Iris Murdoch writes. So this is a pretty quick read. It's just a book of 4 of his plays. I think a lot of people read No Exit, which is the first play in college. Just a second, I need to get. So the first play, No Exit, I think I just said a lot of people read it in college, like undergrad, and it's basically this group of characters, I think 3 people, find themselves in the afterlife, in hell, and really it's just a room without any windows where the light always stays on, and they have to stay in a small place each has to stay in a small place with 2 other people. And so this is where the famous line, "Hell is other people," comes from, because that's how they're tortured in a sense. So there's no like fire or like machines or anything or weapons or whatever it is that you imagine you'll be tortured by in a place that is called hell. So it's just that they have to be with other people. So they're figuring out how to not make each other suffer, and they kind of can't. The second play in here is called The Flies, and it's a reworking of the Electra Orestes story. So Orestes and they're both like, I don't know, young-ish, like I guess 18. Let's say the characters, the brother and sister. So Orestes has been away for a long time, and he comes back to his childhood home, and he sees the state that his hometown is in. It's kind of a place where people are haunted by their fears, which are sort of based on the history of the city, and based on the perpetual, I guess, kind of myth that's telling of like this myth that's being told. So every year sorry, I wasn't planning on summarizing this. So every year they kind of like open the door to the tombs, and these ghosts are supposed to come out, and like you're people that you've lied to, people that you've murdered, your ex, husbands or wives, etc. And they're supposed to come and spend the day and the night, I guess, with the townspeople that are living. And this is what the king wants to, the current king, wants them to believe, because it keeps them submissive. If your citizenry is always like in fear of a threat, and also like the sins of the town as well, since the current king murdered basically Orestes and Electra's father and married their mother, and their mother was kind of like, I guess, either in on it, or I can't exactly remember in this version of the play what Sartre says, where she just kind of embraced, her new husband and etc., and is keeping up kind of like this farce. So Orestes comes back and he has to figure out whether he is going to kill the current king and kind of, heal the land, and Electra's there. And I don't know, it's really great. I mean, I think Sartre is an amazing literary writer, and he's really great, and his plays are so good. It kind of reminds me of how much I enjoyed Camus' plays as well. And it's so interesting in the book I'm reading right now of Simone de Beauvoir, She Came to Stay. That is the profession of Pierre. So Francois is the main character. So there's a female main character in Beauvoir's work, her novel. And the relationship is kind of, no, it's not, but the relationship is kind of like, I was going to say the relationship was kind of like Matthew and Marcel in L'Âge de Raison, but it's not at all. It's actually like the real life relationship between Sartre and Beauvoir, because they're just like really in love, and they share everything with each other. Like they share truths and knowledge, like there's no secrets between them. And it talks about, I'll get to that book later. Why did I mention that? I have no idea. I was very good at like following my train of thought this morning. I don't know why I mentioned. I don't know. Anyway, going back to this book. What's wrong with me? We'll just go into the next play. The next play is Dirty Hands, and that's the longest. I think it has 7 acts. Oh yeah, okay. So the profession of Pierre, who is married to the main character, Francois, is like in L'Âge de Raison, the Sartre character is a philosophy professor. The Sartre character in this, that's what I was trying to say. In Beauvoir's novel, She Came to Stay, is like a producer of plays, like a playwright, and he's producing his own plays. So it gives you, so reading both of these novels, L'Âge de Raison and She Came to Stay, which is one of the books that I'm currently reading, really give you different aspects of the actual lives of Sartre and Beauvoir, because both Sartre and Beauvoir were always putting on their own plays or helping with other people who were putting them on, but they also were professors, mainly at the lycée, which is like, I guess, the high school equivalent, if you are an American. And yeah, so it just gives you a different look. Okay, so Dirty Hands is a play that Sartre and Beauvoir's one of their student lovers, Olga, who this book is dedicated to. It's just like a web of relationships when you start getting into their works and their reading, their literature. So anyway, Olga, there's a character named Olga in Dirty Hands, and I think she played her namesake. Anyway, Dirty Hands is more of a kind of underground revolutionary, like a play about that, like the revolutionaries in like this historical time period, and it kind of gives you the sense, or me, the sense of like a mafia kind of story. And it's just about this young man who is, I don't know how old he is, like in his early 20s, and he wants to kind of do something that's courageous. He wants to have a courageous act so he can enact his freedom and prove something to himself. And he has this moral quandary, and I don't know, it's good. I like it. And then there's a very short play called The Respectful Prostitute, which is kind of about racism in America. So when Sartre and Beauvoir, I think a little later on in their academic careers, when they started getting more well known and famous, they were asked to kind of speak, I was trying to think what's the verb related to lectures, give lectures, I guess, on their work in America. So both Sartre and Beauvoir, I think Sartre did this as well, and Beauvoir like traveled around the US and other places, other countries. But when they were in the US, because that play is about American racism, they were in the I guess like the late 40s and 50s and 60s, they really got to observe the racism. So anyway, I don't know. I really liked it. I don't know if I have too much to say about it right now though. And then I just finished on the last day of last month the letters to Sartre. So Beauvoir's correspondence, her side of things. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Beauvoir was like the best person. I mean, both Sartre and Beauvoir, I don't know if they were like the best people, but they've had a voraciousness and a like optimism for adventure and life, and especially Beauvoir, but I think also Sartre. They were very like charismatic as well. Like she loved kind of going on hikes and having little vacations, especially with like her various lovers, or having these romantic, intimate encounters and friendly encounters, like knowing people and sort of seeing different parts of the world. And she always says like, I felt like a princess, or I felt like a queen. And she just really, like, it's very inspiring because she just like lived, she lived life. And she was pretty, I mean, she had her anxieties, but I would say on the whole, she was pretty courageous. And it's really interesting historically as well. It talks about like kind of like humanity's first experiences, like flying on a plane, like having that be like a normal part of life. And it talks about, the war, because they wrote letters to each other when Sartre was a prisoner of war. And I mean, they wrote letters when they were apart, so either on adventures or separated by war. So those are the 4 books that I have finished, the books that I have been reading. So I'm also reading Sartre's letters. These are just the letters that he wrote when he was in the military doing different things. So I've ordered another book of his letters, I think before the war. So this one is like during the war and after, I guess. I'm not very far in it. I'm reading the side, 1940 to 1963. So it's about in alignment with this other book. Beauvoir's letters start 1938. No, 1936 maybe, or even before that, I don't know. So I'm about on page 206 of Being in Nothingness. I am loving Being in Nothingness. I would definitely recommend this translation over, who is it translated by? I don't even know. just like this cover. Like you can. Sarah Richmond. Yes, okay. This one, Over the Hazel Barns one, this was recommended to me, and I'm so glad it was, because I had started to read the Hazel Barnes one, years ago, or I mean years, I think it's plural. But this one is just a dream to read. I would find it, I mean, relatively speaking, like compared to that translation, it's just like a smoother, I guess, ride through this book. And I don't know, I'm just, it's kind of, it's mind-blowing. I'm writing lots of like notes in the margins and highlighting, and it's really impacting me, I would say. Like my experience of loving this is very similar to when I was reading Heidegger's Being in Time for the first time, and the only time so far. But I think Being in Nothingness is like much easier. So yeah, so I would definitely recommend it. I'm loving it. I'm hoping that I can finish it this month, but I don't know. I would have to read like 25 to 30 pages each day, and it's not exactly how I read. So She Came to Stay, I think I basically summarized it. I'm only on chapter, well, I'm not yet on chapter 4. I've just finished chapter 3 a couple of days ago. And yes, so it says on the back of this book that published in 1943, She Came to Stay is Beauvoir's first novel. It was written as an act of revenge upon Olga Kosakevich. It's probably a better way to say that. I've just like, I've read that name so much, but I guess I just skip over it in my mind and don't say it out because I've never tried to pronounce her last name. But anyway, so basically the premise of this book is that Francois, who is, I guess a high school teacher in this book. So she is what she does what she does in her, what Beauvoir does in her life. She kind of has this student, or like former student, that she goes out with, and she has her husband, or no, not her husband, like her lover, her partner, Pierre, because they're like never married, because their marriage is a bourgeois institution. She has Pierre meet Xavier, who is this student, kind of a petulant, kind of difficult, I think, person. But I guess she is, well, okay. And so Pierre decides that he wants to pursue a relationship with Xavier. It's one of like his conquests, as he says. And Francois understands that their relationship is open, and Sartre often has relationships with various people. And in real life, Beauvoir does as well, but I don't think Francois does, although she is attracted to one of her male students, or former students, who's like 20. But yeah, but I don't know what happens exactly. Well, my co-host and I guess friend now, Colin, told me a spoiler, but I won't tell you. So anyway, but it's her dealing with her own jealousy of being in an open relationship with, I guess, maybe someone she wants to be monogamous with. I don't know. So it's about like that. So I'm loving that. I think she's doing a great job. It's so funny to read parts of it, because like if you read the bad faith sections of Being in Nothingness, like it comes to life and it happens in She Came to Stay. Basically, there's a moment very early on that I have already read that Francois is like looking at all the people that are in this cafe club that she is with Xavier in, and she sees like the couple, like this guy and this girl are sitting together, and the guy puts his hand on the girl's hand, and Francois notes that no, it's just like a phantom dangling hand that's not a part of the woman's body, and she's just ignoring it and allowing it to happen and not feeling the, kind of like the, what is she called in Being Nothingness? Not the, why am I thinking of cortisone? That's not it. She's called something in the English translation that I thought it made me pause. I don't know if I can find it. Anyway, the girl. I wrote it at the top, so I feel like I should be able to find it. The Bad Faith of the Frigid Woman. I don't know, but the part I'm talking about is on page 98. Yeah, anyway, so it would take too long for me to read it. I do have other books of Sartre. I do have other books of Beauvoir. I've read Beauvoir's Ethics of Ambiguity like a while ago, like last year, and etc., and had collabs and discussions about it. Although I could always, I feel that Beauvoir's Ethics of Ambiguity is on the level of, I don't know, I don't want to say difficulty, although I guess that would apply. It just seems, yeah, let's just say as difficult as Edith Stein's dissertation, I can never remember what it is, something empathy. On empathy, maybe? So I don't know, I just felt it wasn't, I don't know if I can say it wasn't well written, but I think there are things that writers can do, philosophers can do to make their, I mean, like for instance, Being in Nothingness is not like a simple or an easy read in the sense that the ideas are simple. Like it's still dense and it's complicated and it's nuanced, but it's written well and, well, I guess translated well. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's, because there's so much that a good translation can do. So I'm going to have to hold off on that if I've only read one translation of both On Empathy and The Ethics of Ambiguity, but I felt similarly toward them. Like maybe it's not a pleasant translation. Maybe we should say that. But The Second Sex is, and wonderful. I think, Being in Nothingness is Sartre's work, like his big work. For Beauvoir, it's really The Second Sex. That's really an impressive, and there are good translations of it, I guess. And yeah, it's her main work. Why did I point that out? Oh yeah, but I'm mainly doing the independent study on Sartre, I guess. So I don't know, I have Nausea, I have The Wall, which is short stories. Maybe I'll read this next, actually. Existentialism as a Humanism, which I've read and taught before. His autobiography, or one of his autobiographies, I don't know, Words. So I've started that, and then a book of essays. I just feel like I've had a lot of Sartre, and this is a new month, but I forgot I had this book of short stories. I really do want to read this. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm also reading this book now. So yeah, I really want to read it. That's the thing. But I don't know. I'm putting these to the side. I'm not sure. I did just buy a different translation because I had started to read Nausea. I think I'm about 50 pages in, and this was, I guess, a third through. That would mean it reminded me a lot of Camus' The Stranger, I think. That was the book. Like the character is kind of the same, kind of like a, I don't know, almost like there's some kind of pathology there that is a bit antisocial and violent. Is that what nausea was? Maybe I'm wrong. I think so though. I think I had the same kind of feeling, even if it's not maybe the same kind of character. But I bought a different translation because I was hoping the same thing would happen with Being in Nothingness. Like that would be easier. So, and I don't know if he has more works. I mean, maybe there's another book of like essays, because I know both Beauvoir and Sartre, they had like a journal that they wrote for, like their own journal, with Merleau-Ponty, and they did a lot of like journalistic work and lectures and things like that. So I'm sure there's a lot of works of both of theirs that I don't have. Oh, I also have Beauvoir's student, like her early journals. So not, I guess not, maybe not her letters, but like her diary. It's called like the Diary of a Student. It's 2 volumes. So I also have that, but I think I need to get through the letters of Sartre. Sorry, this video was really rambling. Like probably if you're not interested in this is like a horrible video. So that's my Sartre. But since this is a new month, I want to read new things, like new different people. I have to read, in a sense. Oh, and then there's this, actually, I'm not finished. There's this academic article that I'm reading that came from book Wittgenstein, I think. My Twitter Spaces person, Colin, suggested this because I was asking a question about the terms thetic and non-thetic consciousness. I still just don't, I guess because those are very unfamiliar words to me. Someone said that the words came from Husserl, which I haven't read. His name is always like, not sure if I can say it. Anyway, so this article is about self-consciousness. Reading academic articles, I guess it came from a book, but like secondary literature, it always reminds me of graduate school. Because I think I lean toward primary texts. I just want to read the actual text and not people's interpretations, because people can interpret things in all different ways, but I guess it is necessary to do that. So I'm kind of in my age or era, I guess, of trying to be an academic who writes for publication. So I'm kind of on that early level of just like doing book reviews. So I've done 1 book review and this will be my second. So I have to read I'm choosing to read Feminist Philosophy of Mind. And it's Oxford. I think it has some like, I know that it has some works like from Judith Butler and Maria Lugones. Oh, you say her name, maybe? Lugones. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Some works that were published like in the 80s and 90s, like in the past. So it's really a gorgeous collection. It's 375 pages. And I think it's wonderful because I'm very well versed in feminist studies and I am learning about philosophy in a sense. So this is amazing. This is going to take me all month to get through, so I'm not sure. I'll probably be finishing up this book review in my office in August. I just predict. But I started reading it today and I'm going to read a little bit of it every day. Basically, it took me like 2 hours to read 15 pages. So if that tells you anything. The other book I am focusing on, I've read this already. I think maybe earlier in this year in January. No, I read this. Yeah, I don't know. Earlier in the year, I don't think it was last year, but the private notebooks of Ludwig Wittgenstein. I'm writing a paper, so along with my academic era of writing for publication, I have this journal that my university like put a call out for, like introduced us to. So yeah, so I'm about halfway finished writing the paper for this. I say halfway. I wrote a very long introduction. I don't know about the structure of it, but I haven't yet started to analyze the actual text. So I don't know if I can say halfway through. Okay, so that's that. That's not really, so really those are just the books. Okay, yeah, you get it. So, but the new books that I'm planning on reading, and I don't know if I ever follow through my plans for this month. So now this video really starts. Okay, so I really love Roland Barthes. I mean, he's just one of my people that I have close to my heart, kind of like Heidegger's work, even though I know Heidegger is also not really like a good person, I guess. So anyway, so I've read, what did I read? The Lover's Discourse. I also have mythologies, but these books are slim. They just seem interesting. So Camera Lucida, I think I might have planned to read this before. I don't know. But anyway, let's read the back cover. Yes, I think I had a video on back covers. Yes, maybe. Yes, when I got these books. So maybe I've already read this, but I forgot. So when Roland Barthes wrote Camera Lucida, because I remember like not knowing how to say the title, in 1979, he had long been hailed as the subtlest, most original, most sympathetic literary intelligence of the age. Yet this elegant, contemplative, and beautifully subjective volume revealed a new depth of pathos in his work. Okay, I'm remembering it. Commenting on artists such as Avedon, Clifford, Mapplethorpe, and Nadar, Barthes presents photography as an art outside the codes of language or culture, an art uniquely in touch with the experience of loss. This groundbreaking approach, oh yeah, so I think this is the book on his, like he's reflecting on a picture of his mother, but we don't ever see it. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to hopefully read. I love reading Barthes outside in the sun, and I'm just hoping, not necessarily that we haven't had sun, but it's just been consistently windy and somewhat stormy. I do not like the weather here. And then I would like to read this one because I feel like it'll help me, it'll inspire me in my own writing. So Barthes challenged the notion of literature's obligation to be socially committed. Yes, Barthes allows the writer has a political and ethical responsibility, but the history of French literature shows that the writer has often failed to meet it. And from Barthes' perspective, literature is committed to little more than the myth of itself. So yeah, so I'm reading this because I think it'll be personally inspiring in my life as a writer. So I'd like to go back to, I didn't necessarily mean to start this book and like pause on reading it. So this is Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy, and I'm teaching world mythology. That's one of the new classes that I'm going to be teaching at my college this fall. So I have so many books for it. Thank you to the chair of the department that, did some spring cleaning in his bookcases, bookshelves, and gave me books. And then books that I have. But I think this would kind of apply. And just thinking about myth and especially classical representations of it. So I don't know. So I'd like to continue that because I like it. It's great. The Han book that I have that I haven't read, because I guess I'm just reading everything that Han wrote, is Absence. I haven't really, if I'm going to be honest, I haven't really enjoyed the last few books that I've read of his, I've kind of just read them to get through it. Not necessarily his newest book. This is one of his newest books, but, or at least a book that's newly been translated into English. I think recently I read The Topology of Violence. Also good entertainment. I don't know. Just the way, either the way it's translated or the way he writes. His books are very slim, but I don't know if they're well organized. Like his ideas are always well organized. And I don't know, it could just be that I've read so much of him that I don't know. So this one is, as far as I know, his second book on Eastern philosophy. The other one was, yeah, I also read that, The Philosophy of Zen Buddhism. And I did like that one. I did like that one. But I don't know. It's just not speaking to me. But I want to read it because I have it and I started reading it, and I want to read all of Han's works just because I do. So I am interested. I just did not too long ago a conversation, or had a conversation, did a collab with or on what used to be Therapy with Guys is now Psyche. Someone who's writing a critical introduction to Byung-Chul Han that will be published by Polity, I don't know, the publisher that publishes these books with a pretty cover. So that's so exciting. Super jealous of that. I wish I was in on that project. But we got to talk to him, and he's such a lovely person. And the host of that podcast about, eventually I will get to the point, about saving beauty. So I really liked Saving Beauty. And so, it's about aesthetics, I guess, in that conversation. And I would like to, I have these 3 books that just seem so interesting to me. So Agamben's Creation and Anarchy, The Work of Art and the Religion of Capitalism. That sounds so interesting. Let's read that cover. Creation and the giving of orders are closely entwined in Western culture, where God commands the world into existence and later issues the injunctions known as the 10 Commandments. That's interesting. The arche or origin is always also a command, and a beginning is always the first principle that governs and decrees. This is as true for theology, where God not only creates the world, but governs and continues to govern through continuous creation, as it is for the political and philosophical and political tradition, according to which beginning and creation, command and will together form a strategic apparatus without which our society would fall apart. Okay, the 5 essays collected here aim to deactivate this apparatus through a patient archaeological inquiry into the concepts of work, creation, and command. Oh, that's going to help me with my paper, because my paper on Ludwig Wittgenstein, I'm not used to saying his first name, is on, I'm trying to argue that his private notebooks help explain what soul work is, and that they are an example of that. This is about work. Okay, we'll definitely read this. By the book's final chapter, anarchy appears as the secret center of power brought to light so as to, oh wait, hold on. Okay, no. Giorgio Agamben explores every nuance of the archy in search of an anarchic exit strategy. By the book's final chapter, anarchy appears as the secret center of power brought to light so as to make possible a philosophical thought that might overthrow the principle and its command. This sounds great. It sounds so great. Can I read it? I hope so. And then, I don't know how to say his name, Jean-Luc Nancy. This is another book that I have, and that seems to be about aesthetics, The Ground of the Image. I'm learning so much from these back covers. So. If anything marks the image, it is a deep ambivalence. Denounced as superficial, illusory, and groundless. Sorry, I paused because I was just thinking how I'm not recording this for my podcast. Well, it's fine. Putting out content is not it's not the main point, I guess. It's shared somewhere. If anything marks the image, it is a deep ambivalence. Denounced as superficial, illusory, and groundless, images are at the same time attributed with exorbitant power and assigned a privileged relation to truth. Mistrusted by philosophy, forbidden and embraced by the religions, manipulated as spectacle, and proliferated in the media. I just love this. Images never cease to present their multiple aspects, their paradoxes, their flat but receding spaces. In this collection of writings on images and visual art, Jean-Luc Nancy explores such questions through, you know what I just figured out? Walter Benjamin, his name, pronunciation, just, I don't know, really, what's the word? I don't have words today. Fascinates me. Because I watched a little like reel of Ellie Anderson, and she was saying his name as Walter Benjamin, and apparently that's how you're supposed to say his name. So that's how the Germans say his name. I don't know why I thought of that. Okay. In this collection of writings on images and visual art, he explores such questions through an extraordinary range of references, from Renaissance painting and landscape to photography and video, from the image of Roman death masks to the language of silent film, from Cleopatra to Kant and Heidegger. Nancy pursues a reflection on visuality that goes far beyond the many disciplines with which it intersects. He offers insights into the religious, cultural, political, art, historical, and philosophical aspects of the visual relation, treating such vexed problems as the connection between image and violence, the sacred status of images, and in a profound and important essay, the forbidden representation of the Shoah. In the background of all these investigations lies a preoccupation with finitude, the unsettling forces envisaged sorry, by the images that confront us. I guess I never say that word. The limits that bind us to them. The death that stares back at us from their frozen traits and distant intimacies. Okay. I hope that I get to these books. Okay, then I have a Gadamer. So I have never read these three authors, which is also kind of why I want to read them. Well, that's probably why I bought them. The Relevance of the Beautiful and Other Essays by Gadamer. This volume makes available for the first time in English the most important of Hans Jorg. Gadamer's extensive writings on art and literature. The principal text included is the relevance of the beautiful. It's like I'm thinking things and reading at the same time, and I can't do it. Gadamer's most sustained, I don't even know what I was thinking. Gadamer's most sustained treatment of philosophical aesthetics. The 11 other essays focus particularly on the challenge issued by modern painting and literature to our customary ideas of art, and use that challenge to revitalize our understanding of it. Gadamer demonstrates the continuing importance of such concepts as imitation, truth, symbol, and play for our appreciation of contemporary art, and thereby establishes its continuity with the Western tradition. The essays here are not technical and are readily accessible to the beginning student and general reader. Oh, that's nice. Not mad at that. The collection as a whole serves to illustrate the practice of hermeneutics. Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's what I know about him. And to introduce Gadamer's thoughts. Okay. His major work is Truth and Method. Love that. And then back to academic publication things. I don't know. But I did see a call for papers about Iris Murdoch on Twitter. So I'm sure some of you saw it as well. It's a conference that's going to happen in Paris in 2024. I love Iris Murdoch. I have read her The Bell and the Sea. So I was kind of becoming obsessed with her at some point, and I bought, I think all of her work. Like, she's someone who is a philosopher, but she writes literature. So in the camp of Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir and others that I might not know of. So I would like to, I have so many, right? But I chose a philosophical book, The Sovereignty of Good, and then Under the Net, which I think might be her first book. I don't know. It's a comic novel about work and love and wealth and fame. So I would like to write a paper. I don't know, because I still have like a lot of anxiety from the pandemic about traveling. So I don't know. I think I could get over that. So I don't know. So I don't know if my anxiety will let me go to another like country right now, which makes me so sad because I was such a person of traveling before, you know, like I've backpacked through Europe for like 8 months at a time. And, you know, I've traveled all of my life. It's just after the pandemic, I had anxiety, more anxiety, I guess, or anxiety about traveling for the first time. So anyway, so I would like to write, I have no idea what my paper about her would be. It can kind of be about anything, I think. So yeah, so I haven't thought about it, but I wanted to read these books to kind of, I mean, I know I just read her Sartre book, but I just kind of wanted to like dip my feet back into the work of Murdoch and yeah, see if I can inspire any ideas. Okay, so that's it. The only other thing, are just the books that I have been reading. Why do I have 2 cards in this? I think I was writing something. I'm including her in my paper about soul work. So I've been reading these 3 books that I'm about to share for a while because I go weeks without picking them up, but I really should read them at least once a week or every day because they are my like spiritual guides. So the Gnostic Bible, Angela de Foligno, and the Zohar, volume 1. So yeah. Right. So I'm definitely reading the Sartre. I'm definitely reading this feminist philosophy of mind. But what I actually read and start today, I'm not sure. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna read this. So okay, so that's it. I would love to know what you were reading, what you were planning. If you have any book suggestions for me, because I'm always taking them, even though I have so many, you know, that I haven't read. But yeah, if you have any suggestions or any thoughts or have read what I am going to read, then let me know. Okay, I will catch you all next time.